Hi everyone! So I recently finished my reread of Night Angel Book 1, which is The Way of Shadows. So I figured I'd go ahead and give my review on here. I did also post it on Goodreads, so if you want to check out my Goodreads, please feel free. It's on there. But I'm going to go pretty well in depth with this video as well. So I'd probably rate this about a 4 out of 5. Initially, I had rated this 5 out of 5 when I first read it. But I personally didn't like this as much as I did the first time I read this. It's been years. I can't remember what year I read this the first time. But I don't know. I had a lot of complaints. But there was a lot of positives. But this is the book. This is the first one. I've been reading it on my Kindle because the small books are kind of hard to hold and everything, and I like to keep it in good condition. I also have this big bad boy right here. This isn't easy to hold either, so the Kindle's kind of the best bet for me. But I have a couple versions, so I do like this little one. I like these little covers and everything. I think they recently changed the covers again, kind of in preparation of Nemesis coming out, which it comes out next week. I don't think I'm going to be finished with this trilogy by then, but I will try to read Nemesis as soon as I can. I have started book 2. I'm probably about maybe 15% of the way through. I might kind of get a little bit into that at the end of this video. We'll see. But I'd like to save that for probably when I do a video finishing it because I have some thoughts. So jumping into this one, I'll give you the back description of the book. So this one, the back of it says, for Durzo Blint, assassination is an art, and he is the city's most accomplished artist. For Azoth, survival is precarious, something you never take for granted. As a guild rat, he's grown up in the slums and learned to judge people quickly, and to take risks. Risks like apprenticing himself to Durzo Blint. But to be accepted, Azoth must turn his back on his old life and embrace a new identity and name. As Kyler Stern, he must learn to navigate the assassin's world of dangerous politics and strange magics, and cultivate a flair for death. So it's not a bad idea. I love the assassin's feel. I like all that. I really do. I enjoy books like that. You know, the dark beginning, the darker feel of the book. There's a dark atmosphere. I really do enjoy that. It has a lot of good potential and possibilities with that. There is some magic in this book. It's kind of confusing. It's hard to really understand the magic system. I still don't really have a good grasp on it, but there are like mages and witches. Of course, they spell them a different name. It's spelled with like a Y instead of an I. Original. But yeah, so they do have that. And then there's also this Kakari. Let's see if yeah, it's like K-A with like apostrophe K-A-R-I. And it's like there's only like 6 of these. And it essentially can make the person have certain abilities like over the top. And so like there's a black one and it can essentially devour magic. And it can make, you know, the person who has bonded it like invisible and everything. There's all these other abilities that this person can now have. So that's kind of the magic system. Like I said, they're witches and stuff. They can do magic as well. It doesn't really describe what they do. It's kind of ambiguous, so it's a little vague there. There's a lot of politics involved. That can be a little confusing too at times. You have the main city. You have all that, and there's a king there and everything. But there's also this sick cage group that's like 9 people that are kind of like in charge of like almost like the underworld. There's one who's the mistress of pleasures, the one who's the one of wealth. Man, I'm not gonna remember all of them, but there's a bunch of them, and they each kind of control like a certain area, and they just completely rule essentially the whole city technically because they're the underhand working beneath everything. And so you have that, and then you have this God King who's essentially trying to take over everything. And then you have all these other outside foreigners that are trying to like also take things over too. So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of political movement. The ending really shows all that as well. For the most part, though, you are following Kyler and Durzo through Durzo teaching him how to be essentially not an assassin, but a wet boy. An assassin is just someone who, is your typical assassin, like definition. But the wet boy is someone who can use their talent to come over that next step and be better than an assassin. Assassin's kind of like the lower level, whereas this wet boy is like the next level. Well, the talent, again, with that magic system thing, it's not necessarily a magic, I believe. It's kind of just like an additional step to kind of make you better, so like you can sneak better, I guess, and not be seen as well. You can move faster. So you have some of that, but like I said, it's I don't know why I'm having such a hard time grasping exactly what it is. Now that I'm trying to explain it, it seems like, maybe I didn't understand that very well. But yeah, for the most part, it's following Azoth, who is now Kyler. But Azoth, he was a child who grew up in this gang. He was just trying to survive. It's very dark. The beginning is very dark. There might be some kind of trigger warnings for some people. It's not a pleasant time for him. He had terrible experiences, but his friends were Aline and Jarl. It's Aline, I think, and Jarl. But both of them, had pretty bad experiences themselves. Eileen ended up having all these scars on her face, which that will be brought up a bunch of times. I think you should probably try to count how many times that's brought up if you read this. It gets a little tiring how many times they bring up her scars, but that's another complaint. I'll get more into that with book 2 because it does not stop. But yeah, so they're just trying to survive, and the only way for Azoth to get out is to prove himself capable to be apprenticed to Durzo. And he does end up apprenticing to Durzo, becomes Kyler, and he's trying to train to be that assassin, and he's having trouble with his talent, so he's not necessarily a wet boy, but he's a very good assassin, and you're following that. I do wish with the book it would show more than tell, because it skips a lot of years. Once you get past that childhood stage and he's apprenticing, it kind of just starts skipping. It's like all of a sudden he's like 15 and then 18 and then 20. So, and you're not really seeing him be that assassin. You get a couple instances and you can gather that he's really good at what he does, but it's more told than shown. But while he is Kyler, he does get this friend Logan, which I like Logan. He's a great character. He's one of the noble sons, and I really enjoy him. He's someone who has a very good heart. He's an important character to the story, so they become friends, and I like that storyline in there too. But yeah, for the most part, I like Jarl as well. He is in there. He continues to show up. Aline, I have so many problems with her. But I kind of have problems with how the author writes women in general. They tend to just have one purpose, which is not a good purpose. They're pretty much just in brothels. That's pretty much it. In book 2, it gets really bad. That's all their purposes. And it's like, yeah. So that's kind of a problem as well. Yeah, I don't, but the last 30% of the book was really good. I did like that last probably 30%, maybe even more, but it was constant movement. The plot and the pace, let's try to combine those words there, were really good. It was really fast. It just kept moving from action to action to action. That ending and that last bit really, really did it for me. I really enjoyed that. It was great. There was a lot of fighting going on, a lot of betrayals, plot movements. You kind of twists and turns. You didn't know who was betraying who or who was behind what. Like I said, you get all those political movements being involved in that, so that's where all the betrayals coming from, some revelations coming in. I really enjoyed that last bit. So that's why I would give it the 4 out of the 5, because that last bit really did it for me. I really enjoyed it. The rest of it, like I said, I just wish there would have been more of Kyler just going around being an assassin. I would have enjoyed that more, but I did like that. The other thing is the writing. It almost feels like something's missing. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like it's lacking a depth at times. I don't know if it's just kind of like maybe a little bit of a lazy writing style, but sometimes the dialogue can feel like forced or awkward because the dialogue almost appears to just be trying to get to a certain point rather than naturally moving there. It's more abrupt. Also, there is swearing in the book, but it's not much. But where it's used, it's almost like used jarringly or improperly. It's almost like it's used just for the purpose to make sure this isn't just categorized as a YA book. I don't know how to describe it, but it can be when it's used, it's so jarring because for the most part, the narration, the inner thoughts of those characters, they don't swear. So it's not really a part of their thought process. But all of a sudden, they'll say it in a sentence inappropriately, and you're just like, why? Like, why did you say that? Like, that doesn't even fit. I don't know. I mean, I'd prefer to just have no swearing, but I mean, I guess if the author's going to put it in, at least make it fit. I don't know. It just, like I said, it just didn't, it felt very clunky. But yeah, I just, for the most part, I enjoyed it. I really did. I really like this book. I would recommend it. It's a fun, fast read. Like I said, the pacing in this one is pretty good, especially when you get towards that last bit. So, I mean, a good chunk of it, probably almost over halfway, actually. I know I said 30%, but it's probably a little more than that. But it moves really quick. I like that. And I do like Kyler. I just wish there would have been probably more depth. But I do think probably with this new book coming out, Nemesis, I have a feeling that it's probably developed better. And I'm sure the writing's better. So if you want to try that one, I would recommend, obviously getting the backstory so you know everything that's going on. But I have a feeling that new book's going to be pretty good. So I'm really excited about that. But I did mention I might get into book 2 a little bit. Right now I'm on Shadow's Edge. I'm about 15% of the way through, which isn't very far. But I have a lot of feelings with that. Like I said, the amount of times Eileen's scars are brought up is ridiculous. I am just so tired of it. I can't stand her. I don't like her, and I'm so tired of hearing about her. She's probably one of the worst characters ever. Like, I can't stand her. I really can't. And I remember the first time I read this too, I did not like her then either. And so now the second time I'm reading about her, I just okay. It's okay. But the second book isn't doing well for me right now. I do know it gets better, and I know the third book's pretty good. So if you can survive through the second book, you're in. But like I said, that first book is good. I don't want you to think I don't like this series, because I do, and I don't want to not convince you to try it, but I do want to give you a warning that, yes, it's not going to be probably, if you're reading it right after a Sanderson book, don't do that. I don't recommend that. If you're reading it just for a fun story, I do recommend that. It is a fun story. I do like it. And so just go into it with those expectations that, yes, it's not going to be like maybe some of the other books you've read, but it's still good. So I will do a review when I finish this one, and you can get my thoughts on that. But yeah, so if you check them out, or if you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. But have a good rest of the day.